Hi there, guys. I'd just like to tell you about a system which could generate charities a huge amount of money. Every charity needs as much help as possible, and this is one way in which charities really could benefit. So let's get into it. I've actually called the system, for want of a better word, a charity barter. So let's have a look at how it makes the charity so much money. I mean, really a huge amount of money. So if ever you go to one of these normal barter sites, you usually have to register. Here you register, let's say this is Edward. Edward decides to register. He uploads a photograph of himself. And then let's say he has a computer. He doesn't want this computer anymore and he wants to swap it for something else. It's a barter system, yes. He wants to swap it for something else. He reckons that his computer is worth £300. So Lance also, he registers, he uploads his photograph, and he has a bicycle for sale. And he reckons his bicycle was worth £600. Well, he wants to give away his bicycle. It's not for sale. He wants to give it away. He wants to swap it, doesn't he? Opera, she registers, uploads a profile picture, uploads a picture of a television which has been in a garage a long time, and she would like to swap it for something else. And she reckons her television is worth £100. If these guys want to swap among each other, it's going to be a little bit difficult. Firstly, the price of things is different. So, for example, if Lance wanted to swap his bicycle with Edward's computer, Lance is going to lose out by £300. The other problem is, let's say Edward wants to trade with Opera. Lance wants to trade with Edward and Opera wants to trade with Lance. So then we're going to have to set up a sort of three-way barter system and it gets complicated. Well, remember, I've only got 3 people here. In a barter community, there might be tens of thousands of people. So how to get around that problem? Now, a lot of barter sites that get around this problem by introducing a point system, and we're going to have a look at how this point system can make the charity a huge amount of money. It's really fantastic. So who should we start with? Let's start with Lance. So Lance, he wants Edward's computer, doesn't he? Lance wants to buy Edward's computer. He speaks to Edward and says, yeah, I'd really love to buy your computer, but if we do a swap, I'm going to be £300 down. And he says to Edward, Edward, have you got £300 you could give me? And then that'd be a fair swap. And Edward says, I haven't been working for the NSA for a long time. I don't have any money, to be honest with you. So then Lance sees this button on the website, and this button on the website, it says buy points. So Lance thinks, oh, that's great. As I really want this computer, I obviously can't sell my bike to him, but as I really want this computer, I'll just buy some points. And so he clicks the button and it says he can buy points and he can use Visa, MasterCard, his banking card. Maybe if the charity is set up through the local government, he could even go down to the local government office and pay cash to the local government. But anyway, let's say he uses PayPal and he pays into the charity account. So he needs £300 to pay to Edward. So he says to the charity, I'm going to give you £300 of real money. So the charity says, thank you very much. And it takes this real money, £300. So there it is. That's £300 in the charity account which Lance gave. So then the charity gives £300 to Lance. What's happened here is it's not real money, it's token money. So it's token pounds. So it's just like points, really. So you could say Lance has just got 300 points. So Lance has got £300 worth of tokens. And now he goes to Edward and says, Edward, I would like to buy your computer. And Edward says, okay, have you got the money? And he says, well, I've got these tokens. And Edward thinks about this and says, well, okay, well, if I take the tokens, then I will be able to buy Opera's television because, I really want to buy Opera's television. So he says to Lance, okay, Lance, can you transfer the money to my account? So Lance transfers the money to his account. He puts 300 token pounds into Edward's account, and of course then there's nothing in Lance's account, is there? So Lance is 0 now and Edward's got the money. And then Edward, because he's a good honest guy, yes, he doesn't run off with the money, he actually gives the computer to Lance. So now Lance, he's quite happy Lance has got the computer. He's still got his bike, he's still waiting for somebody to actually buy his bike, yeah, but at least he's got his computer. He's happy about that. So Edward's got £300 now. So Edward can buy Opera's television. So Edward contacts, there's like an internal chat system on the website. And Edward contacts Opera, says, Opera, I'd like to buy your television. Opera says, okay, I'm quite happy with these token pounds. I'm sure there's something else on the website which would be very useful, which I could buy with them. So Edward transfers the money to Opera, £100. And that means there's only £200 now in Edward's account, £200. Of course, Opera transfers the television to Edward. So Edward's quite happy now. Edward's got the television. Opera's got the £100 worth of tokens. So what does Opera want to buy? Opera wants to buy Lance's bike, but she only has 100. Then she sees this button on the website. It says buy points, and she thinks, okay, if I've got 100, Lance's bicycle is £600. I need to either pay or borrow. It doesn't matter. Maybe the charity could set up a system where people can borrow money also. That would be perfectly okay. I'll show you how that works later on. But let's say for now she uses PayPal. So she clicks on this button here, opens up a page, and she uses PayPal to pay into the charity account. So she pays £500 real money into the accounts, and the charity or the website adds an extra 500 to Opera's accounts, so that makes £600. So now Opera's got the £600. She contacts Lance through the internal chat system, says, Lance, I've got 600 tokens, and Lance says, yeah, these tokens are quite good because I actually managed to buy a computer on it. I'm sure there's some other things I can buy with these tokens on this website. So yes, I'll be very happy to accept your tokens. So Opera transfers the money to Lance. So Lance gets 600 token pounds into his accounts, and of course that means Opera has nothing. And of course Lance doesn't just cycle off with the money, he passes the bicycle to Opera. How that's done, whether it's done by DHL delivery, or maybe they could meet at the station together, or someplace in the park Lance could deliver his bicycle. I guess normally it will be done by DHL or something like this. Okay, so let's see, is everybody happy at the moment? So Edward, he got his television for 100. He's still got £200 tokens, so he can buy something else if he wants. Lance got the computer for £300, and he's got £600 worth of tokens in his account, which he can spend within the system. And Opera doesn't have any money, but doesn't matter because she managed to get the bicycle she really wanted, and she thought it was worth £600. Okay, so everybody's happy here. What about the charity? So the charity didn't make anything off Edward, and it made £300 off Lance, and it made £500 off Opera. So just through these people swapping things, just through these people bartering, the charity has made £800. It's not bad, huh? It's pretty damn good. That's why I think it'll be a fantastic way for charities to make money. Okay, so let's change this a little bit. So who had what? I can't remember. I think Opera had the television. Let me put it back the way it was. Who had the computer? Of course, it was Edward. Lance had the bicycle. Let's start again. Make this 0, 0, 0, and 0. Okay, so we're back to where we were in the first place. So now we're going to do it slightly differently. We're going to do the same system, except people don't have real money, so they need to borrow money. And I'm going to show that it's still extremely profitable and there's no risk, absolutely zero risk for the charity. So even though the charity is actually lending them this money. So let's actually see what happens. So let's do it again. Lance wants to buy the computer, but Lance doesn't actually have any money. He doesn't even have any real money. So he contacts the charity. It can be the charity or it can be the website or whoever's organizing the website. Maybe it's the local government, the local council who's raising money for the charities, whoever's doing it. But he contacts the right people and he says, listen, I don't have any money, but I'd really like to buy a computer. Can I borrow some money? So the charity says, yeah, how much do you want? He says, I'd like to borrow 300. So now we need to have a look at assets and liabilities. So the first thing the charity says, or whoever's organizing it, says to Lance is, Lance, do you promise to pay us back the money? And he says, yes. And so he says, okay, I want you to click this thing on the internet which says you agree to pay us back. And so he clicks this little button on the internet which says he agrees to pay the £300 back. So on the asset side of the charity's accounts, there is £300. It's £300 because they know that Lance is going to pay this money back. So this is an asset, isn't it? Because they know that they're going to get that money. So the charity then lends 300 to Lance. So that's the liability, isn't it? So when they put it here, it shows up basically in his account here. So why is it a liability? Well, it's a liability because he might take it out of the account. And in fact, he does take it out of the account because he wants to buy the computer. So Lance calls up Edward, says, Edward, I've got the money. Edward says, great. So Lance transfers £300 to Edward, and then Edward sends him the computer. Okay, so everybody's happy there. So this is 0 in Lance's account, and because he transferred the money, this becomes 0 here. but Lance still owes the charity 300. Remember, the charity actually started off with 0 because it doesn't cost anything for it to print tokens and put tokens into its clients' accounts. Okay, so Lance has got the computer. Edward, he wants to buy the television, so he phones up Opera and they organise that. It costs £100, so Edward transfers £100 to Opera's internal account. That makes 200 here. And then Opera sends the television to Edward. So Edward has the television now. So Opera, she wanted to buy Lance's bicycle. She's only got 100 tokens, so she needs 500 more. So she clicks this button here. It asks her, do you have any money? She says, no, I don't have any money. I'd like to borrow some money. So basically she has to sign this internet form, which asks her, will you pay back the money? And she says yes. When she says yes, that's an asset. So she's going to borrow 500 from the charity. Just to balance the sheet, it's the liability which shows up on Opera's token account. So 500 plus 100 is 600. So now she has the money to buy the bike. She calls up Lance. Lance says yes, transfer the money. So she transfers the money to Lance. That means Opera's got 0. So on the balance sheet here, we make this 0.2. She still owes 500 to the charity, real money. And of course, Lance sends her the bike. Okay, so everybody's happy here like they were before. Some things have changed here. As Lance owes £300 to the charity and Opera owes £500 to the charity. So let's say Lance, he earns some money, some real money, and he pays this back. Maybe the charity asks, okay, you can just pay £30 a month. So after 10 months, he's paid it back, something like that. Which means £300 goes into the charity account, pays them back £300. And because he pays them back £300, he doesn't owe them £300 anymore, does he? So that becomes 0 there. Let's talk about Opera now. So Opera also owes 500. Let's say, just to talk about risk the charity is taking on here by lending people money. So normally, if there's risk, a financial organization, before they lend money, they'll add interest. But obviously, Opera and Lance, they borrowed the money without any interest at all. So how can they do that? And they can do that because there's no risk on behalf of the charity. So let's say Opera just doesn't pay the money back at all. So the charity doesn't get any money in their account from her and they have to write off this 500. So this 500 becomes 0. Well, can you remember the charity started off with 0 in the beginning before these people were swapping with each other. And at the end of everything, the charity is still £300 up. So they still made a profit and they didn't make a loss. And the reason is because it doesn't cost the charity anything to send points or tokens to the accounts of their clients. It doesn't cost them anything at all. It's just like a computer point. So because it doesn't cost the charity anything, it didn't actually send any real money. There was never actually any risk in the first place. Okay, I'd just like to carry on a little bit and speak about barter companies in general. So I don't know whether any of you have used a barter company which uses the point system, but I think now you understand that if you pay a barter company, that barter company doesn't use that money to pay the person you're buying the item off. So I probably need to explain that a bit better. Let's put it back the way it was. The computer belonged to Edward, the television belonged to Opera, bicycle belonged to Lance. Let's put everything back to 0. So let's pretend now this isn't a charity, but it's just a barter company. So it's just a company account, which is the barter company. So let's do the same thing again. Let's say Opera wants to buy the bicycle. She doesn't actually have any money in her token account, so she can't buy the bicycle. So she clicks this buy points button and she buys 600 points. She just buys it directly from the company. Okay, so she pays 600 real pounds to the company, the barter company, and the barter company puts 600 tokens into her account. So then she pays Lance 0 and Lance sends her the bike. These guys are perfectly happy with the situation. Opera, she paid £600 to the company. But this is the question. What did the company do to earn this money? What did it do? There it is. It's got £600. It's £600 better off. All it did is it sent some electronic points to Opera's account. And Opera then moved those points to Lance's account and took the bicycle. So Lance has now got these electronic points, but they're only electronic points. in theory, are they actually worth anything? It's a quite interesting philosophical question. How much are these tokens worth? Are they really worth the same amount as real money? Now, there actually is a company called Barter. Not only do they take your capital, like here, and just keep it, but they actually charge for that service. So they take your capital and they charge service as well. It really is a rip-off company. So anyway, what this company does, because nobody realizes quite what they're doing, that they're actually stealing the capital. They don't pay Lance for this, do they? They just can Lance some crummy points. Okay, so at the moment, the Financial Services Authority doesn't realize that this scam is going on, which is why I think it would be a great system for a charity. I'm going to change this back to charity. So here, the money is going to a good cause. The people who are in the community will be told that the money is going to a good cause. There'll be like an open account on the website so they can actually see where their money has gone. The community could actually vote which charity receives the money, etc. If we can get it running, not only will it be raising money for charity, but it means that people won't go to these barter companies, which are basically ripping people off really, really, really badly. So this is a call out to anybody who would like to get this system up and running. The main people who will be able to help me with this are computer programmers, people who know how to make a website which can be used for bartering. This really is an opportunity for the charities too big to miss. So perhaps even the charities would like to get in contact with me so that we can get the software written to run an international system which all charities could use to raise money. Worldwide, billions of dollars of trade is done by bartering. I think it would be much better that these profits, which are really made through deceiving the public, instead go to good causes and charities, etc. So please contact me at my email address, which is ta7king@gmail.com. Or if you want to, you can call me on 0048 505 403 293. Let's get this ball rolling.